right, so as part of our series Breaking Down the Bar, I've actually already deviated from anything that is a bar shape because I wanted to make something a little nostalgic. So the idea behind this series is we take a candy product, something very commercial, maybe you enjoyed as a kid, and we break down all the ingredients one by one to see how they work from a manufacturer's perspective, but then also what they do from maybe a more nutritional or consumer perspective. So number 2 in the series are Milk Duds. Have you ever gone to a movie and not bought these? I feel like me as a kid, it was either this or Sour Patch Kids or maybe both together. Like my tongue and the roof of my mouth was completely raw by the time the movie even started. It was pretty spectacular. I love these things. I never knew anything about them ingredient-wise until today, to be honest. And again, I'm really curious to see how products have evolved over time. I would love to see this little timeline of Milk Duds and have the ingredients shifted, have the amount of ingredients changed over time, reduced. I'm likely so they've increased in number. So what I'm going to do is just quickly talk through all the ingredients that we have here. It's upside down because I need to read the ingredients on the back. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about what we had made just with fewer ingredients. So I'm gonna rhyme this off because it's a pretty long laundry list here. So we have sugars, and in brackets, corn syrup, sugar, dextrose, brown sugar, lactose. Next, modified palm oil, and modified vegetable oil. In brackets, we have shea, sunflower, and or safflower. Then modified palm kernel oil, modified milk ingredients, mono and diglycerides, unsweetened chocolate, cocoa powder, baking soda, tapioca dextrin, confectioner's glaze, salt, soy lecithin, artificial flavor. It's pretty big. I counted them, 21 ingredients. 21, like that's crazy. I couldn't even imagine the supply chain to feed this one product alone. But let me start by just going down memory lane. I want to try one of these bad boys. Here they are. You can see a little shiny. I don't know if I just never noticed as a kid, but they're not actually fully coated in chocolate. A lot of them, the caramel is actually on the way through, and as a kid, I didn't care. But me as a manufacturer, I'd probably be like, oh my God, I'm missing a spot here. I need to fix this. But likely when you get into this type of mass production, that doesn't exist. Kind of harder to chew than I was anticipating. Sorry, I'm having a hard time. It's getting stuck in my mouth. I would probably still crush this when watching a movie or even during the previews at the beginning. It's tasty, it's sweet. You don't taste chocolate. It kind of reminds me of Werther's Original in terms of flavor, and that's it. So I'm gonna run through a few of the top ingredients that really stood out to me once I finish chewing here. It's stuck, it's not going anywhere. All right, I'll live in my teeth for now. So as I mentioned, 21 ingredients here. Things that stood out to me, corn syrup, largely because there's a lot of GMO in that world. From what I understand, it's GMO unless stated. But that raised a pretty big question in my head. Should it not be the opposite? If it's GMO, should it not be labeled as such on every ingredient? I do see and recognize non-GMO certifications, especially in Canada, and I like that, but it feels backwards, because then as a consumer, I start questioning the products that aren't labeled because they don't have a non-GMO cert, which also costs money, by the way. So I feel like it needs to be inverse. But again, it's a sweetener, of course, right? It helps with shelf stability. There's a lot of modifying of ingredients to get corn syrup. It's processed in a way that it will alter its chemical structure, either through enzymatic treatment. It also increases sweetness or change viscosity. And I think what I've learned through this common thread of Milk Duds is modified comes up quite a bit. Dextrose is in there, another sweet treat derived from corn. Modified palm oil. So again, modified aside, palm oil, that industry is crazy. My very, very brief understanding of scratching that surface, ton of deforestation, a ton of forced labor. Forced labor. These are people that are being forced to do something that they don't want to do and not getting paid for it. It's crazy. That's an ingredient, and it's in a lot of things. Modified vegetable oil, modified palm kernel oil. Again, palm kernel, we're in the kind of same world there. That kind of helps with textural stability. modified milk ingredients. Again, milk ingredients just wasn't enough. Mono and diglycerides. We get into some crazy things, but what stood out to me most, and likely what sounds really nice, is confectioner's glaze. Why are these so shiny, you may ask? Confectioner's glaze. It sounds so innocent, really. Confectioner's glaze. But did you know that confectioner's glaze is actually what I would consider bug juice? It's as simple as that. It makes a shiny finish. It's derived from the lac insect secretions. And I'm sure there are other products that you can use to make your food shiny, but just keep bug juice in your mind when you're looking at all these shiny products out there and being like, what am I eating? Soy lecithin, again, we get into emulsifying, stabilizing a recipe, and I did touch on that briefly before. Artificial flavor, that's a new one. We dealt with natural flavor before. Artificial, again, it's synthetic. We're driving flavors in a lab to mimic real flavors that actually exist in this world. It's a cheap treat. Yeah, I get it, and it's cheap because of all of those ingredients. So when we're making ours, we actually just slimmed it down to how can we make something really tasty, a really similar textural component that I could also crush at a movie. So we made a caramel. It was salt, cane sugar syrup, or invert sugar. We have whipping cream and butter. That is the base of this chewy caramel here. Then we just coated it in a bit of chocolate, and then instead of the bug juice, we decided to add a bit of cocoa powder. I mean, you could coat it in icing sugar, you could do like cinnamon and coffee, you could add any type of powder you want, it just may not look shiny. And yeah, there is a world that does create things that isn't just focused on the bug juice to make it shiny, but come on, like, what are we eating here? How did we get to 21 ingredients? Anyways, I think this all in is 6 or 7 ingredients. And to be honest, it has a very similar texture and a better flavor. Sure, maybe the shelf life is shorter, but this is what it's about. It's trying to peel back a lot of these unnecessary evils that have existed in food for quite a while now and just bring them to your attention. So I know it's very hard for a lot of people to really believe what I'm saying in terms of taste because you can't come here and taste it. So what we're going to do is always have some of what we're working on behind the counter here. So if you really don't believe that we can create a really delicious flavor with a pretty strong shelf life, come and try for yourself. Of course, the products will rotate as we get through more videos, but we welcome you here to see what we're doing with very, very limited ingredients. So again, welcome to this series. This is number 2 of, I'm sure, many, many other ones. There are a ton of bars and other coated chocolate items that I am very excited to explore. But until then, I might just pop on a movie, scarf these down, and enjoy the rest of my day.